Hi, everyone, and welcome to the e-Residency live Q&A, the first one of the year. I can already see that people are starting to stream in. So we'll just give maybe 1 or 2 more minutes before we start formally with the live Q&A. But in the meantime, pop your name and where you're tuning in from into the chat. Let us know if you're an e-resident, if you have a company in Estonia, or you're planning, or you're just browsing, you're just window shopping. And I hope that we can answer some of your questions today. So, hi, Thomas from Germany. Hello, Alberto, Italian living in Spain. Wow, there's a lot of people. Philippines, Kuwait, Indonesia. Gosh, it must be late for you guys over in Asia. So in a minute, I'll introduce my fellow panelists, but just before we get started, a few things to note. Continue using the chat as a place to network with your fellow participants, but use the Q&A to ask questions, and we'll be moderating the Q&A both in writing and also in speaking, and answer all your questions that you have. So we've got over 100 participants already. So I think what we'll do is we'll get started. So I'm going to share my screen because we have a few slides to share with you today. And let's get started. So as I said, welcome to the first live Q&A with the e-Residency team. And I just want to take a minute to introduce our panelists. So I'm Hannah Brown. I'm head of content at e-Residency based here in Tallinn, Estonia. Martin, could you introduce yourself and e-Residency Hub as well, please?
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Martin Lään. I'm founder of a company called e-Residency Hub. And we are one of the service providers to the e-Residency community. We are essentially an accounting firm specialized in e-residents and their Estonian companies. So, and we are, I think, the second largest such provider in Estonia. We currently have about 1,800 live in terms of active clients. Happy to be here, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions that pop up during this webinar.
Thanks, Martin. It's really nice to have you here to be answering all the company formation and accounting questions, because I'm sure we'll have many. And Kalvis, please introduce yourself and your businesses.
Hey, everyone. My name is Kalvis, and yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of two companies here, Taut and Videobe. They are both edtech companies. Taut is like a larger classroom collaboration app, and Videobit is sort of a spin-off from that, more focused and lighter app, which allows you to record videos and share them with your students, parents, or anyone else for remote collaboration. So yeah, I've been an e-resident since I think it was late 2020 when we were co-founding our company in Estonia with Mohammed, and also at that time third co-founder from Estonia. So two of the co-founders were living in Tallinn, so we decided that since there was e-residency, let's create our company in Estonia. So that's how my journey in e-residency started.
And Kalvis, you're Latvian, located in Riga, right?
Yes, I'm Latvian, located in Riga. Actually, so I'm very close to that. For people who don't know that, from Riga, Tallinn is like 4-hour drive. We're neighboring countries, and I was actually growing up, and I still often visit my mom in the countryside, which is in straight line maybe 7 or 8 kilometers from Estonia anyway. So we're all pretty closely living here.
Well, thanks for being here. And you are actually our first ever e-resident participant or panelist at a live Q&A. So, and this is directly the reason we're doing this is directly from feedback from last year's Q&A participants. So I'm really glad you're here so that you can share your story and also answer any questions that people might have directly to you as an e-resident. So
absolutely, yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so the way that the webinar is going to work is I will present a few slides on 3 different topics. The first one is e-residency basics. So we're going to get started with that in a second. The second one is company formation and business banking. And the third is taxes. Between each topic, we will stop and answer questions just to make it a bit more interactive. So feel free to already put your questions in the Q&A, or if questions come up along the way as I present you with the slides, pop them in there as well. And my colleagues, Katrin and Merit, will be answering them in writing. And then when we break from the slides, Martin, Calvis, and I will help answer some questions as well verbally. So the first thing that we're going to cover is what is e-residency. And I think the first thing to say is that e-residency is a digital ID that's granted by the government of Estonia. It provides access to Estonian e-services and also gives you the right to give secure digital signatures. So the main motivation to get one of these digital identities is that it gives you a digital key to do business in Estonia. And also you become part of a global community of e-residents, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. What is e-residency not? It's not a travel document or citizenship visa or residence permit. It's also not a tax residency, and I will cover this in a lot of detail at the end of this, in the third part of this webinar. And finally, it doesn't guarantee you a business bank account or a personal bank account, and we'll talk about this again later. But just because you have a digital ID from e-residency doesn't guarantee you a bank account. Banks and fintechs are private companies, and they make their own rules about customers and who they onboard. So who can apply for e-residency? So e-residency is granted to individuals. So you would apply online if you have a substantial interest in using e-services and starting a company in Estonia. It's not open for Estonian citizens or residents of Estonia, as citizens and residents have our own types of national IDs. At the moment, there are restrictions on new applications from Russians or Belarusians because of the war in Ukraine. I've got here a photo of a real e-resident. This is Navina. She's Serbian and also travels a lot to the United States. She's a bit of a digital nomad. She founded Recruit in Estonia, and she loves the fact that she can be location independent thanks to e-residency, and also the fact that her company is located in the European Union as well. So why become an e-resident? Well, I've hinted at this already. The main motivation is to register an EU-based company 100% online from anywhere. You can run business remotely with 24/7 secure access to Estonian e-services. And you can digitally sign documents to the highest EID-AS, which is an European regulation standards. And these are actually stronger than your handwritten signature, more secure. And they're also stronger than some other digital signatures like Adobe and DocuSign. The other big benefit of becoming an e-resident is you get to join this community that I spoke of. We're nearly at 100,000. I think by mid-Feb, we should get to 100,000 e-residents. And they're, entrepreneurs, they're digital nomads, they're business owners, startup founders like Calvis, in many, many different sectors and from many countries around the world. And here are two of sort of our OG e-residents in the photo. This is Ian and Luke. They're originally from the United States. Ian lives in South Korea, and Luke lives in Switzerland. And they are international co-founders of Functional OU. So they can run their business, even though they live on different sides of the world, they can run their business very easily with their e-residency ID. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the application process. So to apply for e-residency, it's an online application. It takes around 30 minutes as long as you have, all the documents that you need. You pay the state fee. If you're picking up the card in Estonia, it's 100 euros. If you're picking up the card in an Estonian embassy around the world, it's 120 euros. And as I mentioned, you need to choose your pickup location in your application. The Estonian Police and Border Guard, they will review your application. They have a statutory time limit of 30 days to do that. Sometimes they take longer, they might extend, and they'll ask you further questions and let you know if they do. But we see that on average, the application, this review process is about 20 days. So once you're successful, and I think 95% of applications or more are successful, your e-residency kit will reach your pickup location within 2 to 5 weeks. And so then you can make an appointment and go and pick it up. There are certain pickup points, PUPs, as I call them here, pickup points, which are run by private service providers, and you will need to pay an extra fee there. So I think that's in local currency up to 30 euros extra. So, yep, collect your e-residency kit. And then once you have your kit and your ID card, you can access Estonian e-services and start your company. So from the moment you apply online to the moment you pick up your ID card, on average takes between 3 and 8 weeks. Here are the pickup locations. The white dots are both Estonian Police and Border Guard offices in Estonia and also Estonian embassies around the world. The pink dots are these private service locations that I mentioned. The yellow dots are a new type of pickup point that we're trialing at the moment. They're mobile pickup points. So they're not necessarily there all the time, but maybe once a month, a representative of the Estonian MFA will go there and you can pick up your card. So at the moment we have one running in Barcelona and also in the Balkans in Ljubljana, Minsk, no, not Minsk, Sofia in Bulgaria, and Zagreb in Croatia. I got there. So altogether we have just over 45 locations. If you decide a location in your application and then want to change the location, there will be fees that apply and they can be up to 80 euros. So I would advise you to choose your pickup location very carefully when you apply. And the other thing to note is that you may need to travel because as you can see on this map, we do have a lot of gaps. There are countries that don't have pickup locations and we can't send them by mail. You need to pick up your kit in person because you need to provide your fingerprints and authenticate who you are. So you might need the legal right to enter a country. So just have a think about that as well when you're choosing your pickup location. All right, so that's the end of the slides for part 1. So I'm just going to have a quick look in the Q&A, but in the meantime, Kalvis, maybe you could just talk a little bit about your experience applying for e-residency and picking up your card in 2020.
Yeah, it was still in the middle of the big craze of COVID. So I remember maybe. I'm not sure if that impacted somehow, but anyways, the process was pretty smooth. I was just checking the emails, and I think I got the e-residency approved fully from application to a granted number that I could use in about 4 weeks. And then additional 4 weeks to, I still remember when I was going and picking up the card. So you get this kind of.
Oh, you've got the kit there. Great.
I have the kit there.
Show and tell.
Yeah. So here, every e-resident gets a kit like this. So there is this physical card and a USB card reader that you can attach and use to sign any documents. So it was super easy. There's just basically the application process is fairly simple. You have to get some documents from your own government. But there are some basic questions, but there are no. I would say there's no really big hurdles in place, and then you just have to wait a little bit of time, which is also understandable. for that to be processed on the other side. It was really smooth, honestly. And yeah, looking at the map, maybe I got like points. I just needed to maybe walk 15 minutes to get to the Estonian embassy, but yeah, it was still very smooth and very welcoming feeling when I got the card.
Wonderful, thank you. So there's a few people asking about renewals. So the e-Residency digital ID lasts for 5 years, and then you need to apply. Basically, you need to apply again, but there's just an option when you do the application for that you're reapplying, that you've already had e-Residency before. You have to complete the full application, or again, as you did when you applied, and pay the fee as well. And then the police and border guard, they try and put the renewals, they try and look at the renewals quicker. So I think the average time taken to look at renewals is more like 15 days. So that's renewals. And then someone is asking about the pickup location for Argentinians. So yeah, as you can see in the map, we don't unfortunately have a pickup location in Argentina. The closest one is Sao Paulo in Brazil, and I know that is also not that close. South America is a big place. So that's one option. Another option is to, if you're in Europe, if you happen to be in Europe, to pick up your card at an Estonian embassy in Europe. Okay, I think most of the other questions that I'm seeing. So Lorraine, you're asking about South Africa. We do actually have a pickup location in Pretoria. So in South Africa. So if you live nearby, hopefully that is good news for you. Lida, you're asking about Canada, the US. So there is actually a location in San Francisco. You just can't see it on this map. So we have, there's a consulate, there's an Estonian consulate in San Francisco. So you can also pick up your card there, but New York and DC are the main places. Canada is I think Vancouver. No. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll have to take that one as a comment and get back to you. Canada. You can also apply as well. Sorry, you can also pick up your card, but yes, it is on the East Coast. But hey, maybe it's an excuse to come to Europe and visit an Estonian embassy in Europe. Okay, the renewal is the same price as the application. So 100 if you pick it up in Estonia, 120 at an Estonian embassy. All right, so we're going to move, we've got quite a lot of content to get through in the next section. So we're going to move very swiftly into part 2, which is about company formation and business banking as well. So the first question, people ask, and I've already seen a few people asking it in the chat and the Q&A as well, is why would you want to open a company in Estonia? I think the main reason is that you can open it 100% digitally and from anywhere in the world as an e-resident. And we've got 4 sort of value propositions that we think explain best why Estonia is a good place to start a company. Firstly, it's easy, business is easy at every stage here in Estonia. So when you start, you can do it in a very, very short amount of time, normally within a day. You can register your company and all online with your ID card. Running, again, very easy because you have the ID card to do things online and remotely. So you don't need to visit Estonia. You don't need to visit any government organizations. It's all online. And growing as well, which I'll talk about in a minute too, is also very easy, having the network that you do, the e-Residency network that you do. The second reason is around being confident and feeling safe doing business in Estonia. It's a very the country has been building its digital infrastructure for the last 30 years. It's extremely secure and dependable. And the business environment here in Estonia is transparent. So business dealings and corporate safety is very high here. It's also in the EU, so that's a big plus too. The third reason is opportunities. You get access to unrivaled growth opportunities. So because you're a part of the EU and because Estonia has a big startup scene, which maybe Calvis and Martin can comment on in a minute, you have great access to investors, business partners, clients, and the government here is extremely business friendly. So the business environment, as I said, is very open. It's not super regulated, so there's a lot of freedom to try new things, to innovate, and get access to these kinds of opportunities that some other sort of more traditional conservative business country environments don't have. And finally, you have a global network of support. As I mentioned before, there's 100,000 e-residents who've been there, done that before, so, and they're always willing to help. There's the marketplace of service providers like Martin and e-Residency Hub, and you also have the e-Residency team, us here, where we're here to basically help you succeed, because if you succeed, we succeed. But Martin, I wanted to ask you, do you have any comments here, or what do you hear from your clients about why Estonia is a good place to do business?
Yes, you have roughly covered all of these aspects in your points, but yes, I think the speed of it is one thing. You can really, from the moment you, obviously applying for the e-residency is something that still takes you about 4 to 6 weeks. But once you have the e-residency in your hands, from the moment you have that until the moment you can send an invoice to your client, it usually takes no more than a couple of days, and you can get the business running in a matter of a couple of days. So that's one thing. The other thing is the ease of administration, meaning you can really do everything, and I repeat, everything online. You don't ever have to come to a government office with a stack of papers or travel to Estonia. So essentially you can do it online. It's very, very transparent. So that to all of our clients is an asset, but you have to keep in mind that for example, your annual reports, which show how your business is doing, whether it's your balance sheet or profit and loss statement, or just the description of how many employees you have and what does your company actually do and plan to do. All of this is public information, so anybody can download this from the internet and read. So that is a very good and transparent thing, and you can also read all the annual reports of other e-residents. Yeah, these are the main ones. So a lot of the people who are doing international business, where you have a company that has 2 or 3 or 4 shareholders, and they are in different countries, and they meet virtually, and they do all their decision makings online over these kinds of webinars or video calls. It's so much easier if you can just sign your documents into decisions at the click of a button, rather than having to meet somewhere or mail documents back and forth. But I need to repeat one thing. So this is something that has come up in the Q&A a bit as well. So obviously it's very easy when all of the people involved are e-residents. So if you have a situation where some of the shareholders or the directors are not e-residents, and some of the shareholders are other companies, so if it gets very complicated in terms of a corporate structure, then sometimes a notary is unavoidable. But this is also something where service providers can come to your help. But if it's a simple matter where you have 1, 2, or 3 or 4 physical individuals that do business together, and they're all e-residents, then all of this really does apply.
Yeah, and Calvis, maybe just add quickly your experience of the startup scene in Estonia, because I know that you've been to a few of the conferences here and joined the pitching competitions, and maybe you can talk a little bit about your experiences from that side of things as well.
Yeah, well, Estonia is, I think they're in one of the highest, always ranked among the top in Europe, and I think also in the world in different startup categories per capita, unicorns or just regular startups per capita. I don't recall it precisely, but I know that they're, I think, the best in the Europe and among the top in the world. and you can really feel it. We also went through Startup Wise Guys, which is the Europe's best B2B startup accelerator. It is headquartered in Tallinn, Estonia, with a massive network. There's also a lot of huge companies that has come out from Estonia, and yeah, you can really feel that density of successful entrepreneurs in the society is very high, and usually so. Almost always people are very welcoming and supportive and want you to succeed. So if you ever have maybe some questions or you need, I don't know, investments, then it's very easy to reach out, to even connect from somebody you already know in Estonia, to introduce you to someone. So it's super good environment for doing any kind of business. I think also anyone who's, I saw in the comments here looking at asking about them being freelancers. So yeah, this is a very, very business friendly and very business intense, if that's the term, environment.
Yeah. I think that Estonians are born with entrepreneurship in their blood or something, because
I remember somebody said that entrepreneurship is a national sport in Estonia, and it really does feel that way.
I think it's a religion, actually.
Yeah, or that it's definitely, you can really feel it in every day.
Yeah. So yeah, as Calvis mentioned, you have very easy access to investors and also government people and venture capitalists and everyone that you would need to know to help start and grow your business. So company registration is probably even easier than applying for e-residency and quicker as well. So once you have your ID card, you can use your ID card to log in and register the company. We recommend that you use a business service provider to do this. You will need them for one particular service, which I'll talk about in the next slides. But you can also get them to help you with company formation as well, because they do it all the time and every day, and they know exactly how to do it very quickly and easily with all the right articles and everything in place. So, but if you do want to do it yourself, it's also possible. So you log into the e-business register, the Australian Commercial Register, or if you're using a service provider, many of them have an API formation service as well. So you can use it to do that as well. And you can register your company. Some sectors need a license or a notice of economic activity, but as I mentioned before, Estonia is very low regulation, so that it's very limited activities. The ones that you would find in other countries are the sort of usual suspects here. So financial services, insurance, construction, some education services are not so much like online courses and these kinds of things, but if you're providing education services, there are some notices of activity that you might need to provide. Tourism is another one as well. I mentioned financial services, but I will pick out crypto as the sort of main culprit here. That's many e-residents ask us about crypto. If you're providing a wallet, these kinds of serious crypto services, you'll need to apply for a license, and there's other things that you'll need to have in place to do that. And finally, once you've done that, you can apply for a business banking account, and I'll cover that in a few slides time. So I mentioned the marketplace. We at e-Residency, we have created this online business directory of service providers to help e-residents with their business. There are now 122 service providers on there. I mentioned that there is one service that e-residents will need to use a service provider for, and this is the contact person service. It's the only mandatory local service needed. And only certain professionals or licensed representatives can actually offer this service. The contact person acts as the company's sort of mailbox and messenger service in Estonia. And it's important to note that they are not a local director, and they don't have like liability as a shadow director or a non-executive director or anything like this. They're purely a messenger for your company here in Estonia. The law is changing next week, but it doesn't really affect the practicality of having this. There are some slight adjustments to the wording of the law that has been in place now for a few years. But really, this doesn't really affect e-residents. If you're located outside of Estonia, you will most likely need a local contact person for your company. So marketplace members also provide other services like company formation, accounting, legal, tax consulting, etc. So I highly recommend going on our website and having a look at the marketplace. There's a lot of features that are helpful. So for example, you can see here there's ratings, there's reviews from real e-residents who've logged in to put their reviews. There's a filtering options by different types of services and company types and industries. And there's also a compare feature as well. So all these things we've put in place to help you find the best business partners for your company. And I recently uploaded, I think in November now, a video on our YouTube channel, which is a guided tour of the marketplace. And I include some demos in there and highlight some of the features. So have a watch of that to help you navigate the marketplace as quickly as possible. So now I'm going to talk about costs. So I've already mentioned, the e-residency application fee. So it'll be between 100 and 130 euros, depending on where you pick up your card. So the state fee to register an OÜ company, which is the term for a private limited company, the vast majority of e-residents are registered a private limited company or an OÜ in Estonia, is now 265 euros. The contact person service that I mentioned, the one that you will probably need, that can vary between 200 and 400 euros per year. And then if you want accounting and other services, you're looking at, packages starting at 50 euros per month. But when you're budgeting to start your company, also think about other things. So think about the travel costs to the pickup location. Think about extra services. Maybe you want special tax consultations, these kinds of things, banking fees, and obviously business licenses if you're in one of those industries that needs that. So I've done a little sort of, back of the hand calculation, what it might cost you in the first year. If you do it yourself, and here I mean, you apply for e-residency, you register your company, and you have a contact person, because you'll need that. You're looking at starting costs of around 565 euros for the do-it-yourself option. If you're then including accounting support, it's from 1,265. So that's just sort of very rough figures, and they don't take into account all the costs you might incur, but that's sort of where you should start thinking for your first year. So I mentioned the OÜ, it's the most popular business form, not just for e-residents, but also by Estonians as well. It's suitable for shareholders of one or many multi-shareholders. As I showed you the photos before of Ian and Luke, they are the two shareholder company. They have an OÜ. So I've also seen a few people talking about share capital in the Q&A and the chat, I think, as well. So up until next Tuesday, if you start a company, you technically need to add share capital, a minimum of 2,500, although it can be deferred. But from February the 1st, next Wednesday, I think, that share capital, the minimum share capital is now going to be as low as 1 euro cent or centime. If you're a one shareholder company. If you're a two shareholder company, it will be 2 cents because you'll need to divide it between you. But that's basically getting rid of that very high minimum share capital requirement. The OÜ is a great company type because it does limit shareholder liability, and the registration process, which I've taken you through, is very easy. Martin, did you have any comments on the new share capital requirement here? Because this is, I know, something that's been in the works for a while, and you've.
I can comment on this. Yes. So first of all, yes. Until today, until actually the end of this month, yep, the share capital, the minimum size of share capital was 2,500 euros. You don't have to pay that in when you start. Yeah. You can pay and you can leave. There can be a really, really long time until you pay it in. The main time when you need to pay it in is when you start to pay dividend. So when your business has been successful and your company has made profit and you want to distribute this profit as dividends to your shareholders, then before you can do that, the share capital needs to be paid in. But that rule or the law doesn't change at all. The only thing that changes is that the amount of share capital can now be smaller. As you mentioned, it can be 1 cent. In our practice, we intend to start doing it at €1, but the same applies. You don't have to pay it in when you set up the company. Yeah. So you can run your company, run your business, and at one point when you decide that you want to pay dividends to your shareholders, this is when the share capital needs to be paid into the company bank account. The other thing that changes, those of you, maybe there are some people in this audience who already have Estonian companies, and it used to be so that when you paid in the share capital, you needed a very, very specific type of let's say document to prove it, and it was kind of difficult to get. This is now abolished. So the share capital that you have, you simply pay it into your company account, and the accountant, let's say, confirms this and can formulate the fact that it has been paid in. What you need to remember about the share capital is no matter how big it is, if it's €1 or 2,000 euros or 20,000 euros, if it is not paid in, then it's not hanging in the air. It is the responsibility of the shareholders in front of the potential creditors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you are a shareholder of your company and the company has a share capital, then even if you haven't paid it in, if the worst happens and your company goes bankrupt, then the creditors will have a claim against the shareholders, limited to the amount of the share capital. So this is just something that I wanted to mention.
Thank
but
you.
all in all, as the share capital is very small, then it's really not a burden, or it's not an obstacle to starting your business.
Okay, so this is a new slide that I've introduced for the first time. So when you give your feedback, please let me know how you like it. So in recent times, we've been putting new content on our blog where we compare the Estonian business environment with some of the other main, great business environments to start companies in. So, and we'll add more countries as they come over this year, but these are the ones we have at the moment. So I don't want to go through everything. This is probably a good moment to tell you all that you will get a link by email tomorrow to our website where you can download these slides. So don't worry too much about, copying all the information as you go. So you will get that tomorrow. But I just want to point out a few things here. So the time taken to open the business. In Estonia, we've been told by the commercial registry that on average, it takes 2 hours to register an OU. So that's from where you start the application to where it's actually registered on the commercial register. If you do it on the weekend, though, say if you do it on a Saturday or a Friday night or a Saturday morning, it might take you 2 business days for it to be registered. So it won't be registered until Monday or Tuesday. The next thing I want to point out here, and I just wanted to say that if you compare that to, by the way, these comparisons are for foreigners starting a company in these countries. So if you're a UK national, you can also start a company very quickly in the UK. But if you're a foreigner starting a company in the UK, it's 5 to 15 business days. In Ireland, it's a little less, 3 to 7, and the US in the state of Delaware, 5 to 15. The next thing I want to point out here is that if you have e-residency, this means that you don't need a visa, a local agent, or a director in Estonia to start a company. As long as you have your e-residency card, that's it. And then that contact person that I mentioned, which is more of a messenger than an agent or director. In Delaware, if you're a foreigner wanting to start a company in the US, in Delaware, you need to have a local agent. and they can be quite expensive, I'm told. If you are a foreigner starting a company in Ireland, you need to have at least one director from the European Economic Area if you're a non-EU founder. And in the UK, you need a visa to start a company. So this is just to say that if you have e-residency, you don't need any of these things to start a company in Estonia. And the third one I wanted to show you is this online setup, which we've already sort of demonstrated that starting a company is totally online. In the US and Delaware, it's partially because you do need the local agent. In Ireland, it's partially because you actually have to scan physical documents and upload them. So it's not completely digital. In the UK, it is, but again, you need that visa. So there might be aspects that, that are offline as well. The other thing I wanted to mention here is that if you are a Ukrainian citizen, we are reimbursing e-residency fees for Ukrainians. And there are service providers, including e-Residency Hub, who are reimbursing the company incorporation fee for Ukrainians. So this is something that we started doing last year. And I think we've had 30 or so e-residents join us and start companies, and it's growing, increasing. And we're continuing it into 2023. So we hope that in like these trying times, this is something small that we can do to help you, you know, have some financial certainty in your business. The next topic I'm going to cover before we get to Q&A is business banking. The first thing to note is that it's not, it is not compulsory to have an account for your Estonian company with an Estonian bank. There's no rule saying that you have to have an account with an Estonian bank. In fact, the legislation allows you to have a business banking account with any bank or fintech payment institution, these neobanks like Wise and such brands in the European Economic Area. And I'm going to talk about 3 different options for bank accounts, business bank accounts. The first is the payment institutions and fintechs in the EEA. Oops, sorry, wrong way. The great advantage of these fintech accounts is they can be opened entirely online. There is a wide choice. The next slide, I'll show you how wide it is for e-residents. The disadvantage is that most of them don't provide business loans yet. The second option, which is little known, is that you can open an account with a traditional bank in another European Economic Area country. So if, for example, you are living in Portugal, you want to start a company in Estonia, you already have a business or some other client relationship with a Portuguese bank, you can actually ask them if it's possible to set up a business account for your Estonian company. And we know that this is possible because we did a survey a few years ago, and I think 20% of the respondents said that they had done this for their Estonian companies. So if you do have an existing client relationship with an European Economic Area bank, don't be afraid to ask them to set up another account for your Estonian company. The third option, and I must say, I must caution you all that this can be quite difficult. It's possible, but it can be quite difficult, is to get a business bank account with a traditional bank in Estonia. And why is it difficult? Well, you need to show that your company has a strong connection to Estonia, and strong connection to Estonia means that at least 50% of your clients, suppliers, assets are in Estonia. The other disadvantage is that you will need to make at least one personal visit to the bank here in Estonia to authenticate yourself and your company. You can pre-apply with a few banks and they'll give you the decision before you come here. So that makes things slightly easier. But yeah, you will need to visit Estonia. It's one of the few reasons actually that you would need to visit Estonia as an e-resident if you wanted to get a bank account with an Estonian bank. So on this slide, I've got a business bank comparison with some of the firms that know e-residents, already have e-resident clients and are on our marketplace. So you can actually find these guys on our marketplace. The first 2 in grey, LHV and Co-op, are Estonian traditional banks. They obviously provide Estonian IBANs, international business account number. They provide MasterCard, debit MasterCards, international payments, and they can also make business loans. The rest of the brands in blue are fintechs, or neobanks, or payment institutions, and they also provide various types of debit cards. They have differing IBANs. Some of them are Estonian, some of them are from other European countries. So if you're an e-commerce, if you're in e-commerce, where you might need to, or if you're selling things on Google or Apple or AdWords services, these types of things, you might need an Estonian IBAN. So have a look at Airwallex and WeTrust. But if you're selling services and all you need and doing a lot of invoicing, and all you need is sort of that transactional service, then and international payments, for example, many of these other fintechs will be perfectly fine for you. So check them out on our marketplace. So let's stop there and answer some questions on company formation and banking. And I can see that we have a lot of questions. So I think
Hannah, can I make a comment, if I may?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I noticed there is an interesting discussion also going on in the chat.
Yes.
And this question also came up in the Q&A. So ladies and gentlemen, people have been asking about the dissolution or the closing of the Estonian company. In the chat, there was a gentleman who said that in Estonia, that takes quite a lot of time, and comparing it to Delaware, where a company can be dissolved in a matter of couple of weeks. Well, in Estonia, the process takes about 4.5 months. And most of that time is simply waiting, because the law says that you have to publish the fact that your company is being dissolved. And then you have this waiting time for the creditors to step forward. I'm saying this with a tongue in cheek. So if your intention is to set up the company, then do something shady and then shut it down in a matter of couple of weeks and run towards the sunset, then definitely Estonia and e-Residency is not the right place to go to. But jokes aside, the dissolution itself is not a complicated procedure. There are some forms that need to be filled, and you need to also demonstrate how the company assets will be distributed. But a lot of the questions had to do with taxation. I don't know, Hannah, if this is a good time to talk about them.
Well, we're going to cover taxes in the next section. So let's just see if we can answer some questions on company formation, because there are also quite a lot of these.
Yes.
So one there, I can see there's been a couple of questions about Amazon FBA and sort of e-commerce drop shipping type questions. I know e-Residency Hub has clients in this area. So
yes. So
maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So once again, so the Estonian company itself can be set up in a matter of a couple of days. And it is also quite easy to get a value-added tax number for the Estonian company. Again, it's something that sometimes it happens during the same day that you apply. Sometimes it takes a couple of more days, and sometimes the tax authority asks a couple of questions. But anyway, your accountant can help you with that, and it's a matter of a few days. I know in Germany, for example, it takes several months. Opening an Amazon FBA seller's account is also completely doable. And once you have the Estonian company set up, then also we can provide you with, sometimes Amazon asks for the notarized documents that the company exists. So they are not happy with simply having a PDF file, but they need it with official stamps and everything. So this can be done. Now, if you do Amazon FBA, and if you intend to keep your goods in an Amazon warehouse somewhere around Europe, mostly it's Germany, but it could be France or any other, Spain or any other country as well, then you will need also a VAT number in that country. You definitely need a VAT number in the country where your goods will be stored. And usually our clients use Amazon for that. So Amazon has their own VAT services. So they offer this to their corporate clients, and you can ask Amazon to set up these other VAT numbers for you, and then you can start selling. And obviously there is now this one-stop shop solution, meaning the VAT that you pay to different countries in Europe, you can pay this in Estonia, and we do these OSS declarations. But maybe I don't want to get too technical into it, but what I'm saying is that we have many clients who run their either a drop shipping business or who sell their goods on Amazon, and the Estonian company and e-Residency is perfectly fine for those purposes.
Great. Mark is asking, the company name, can multiple names be registered under one company? Yes, that's fine. You can actually, Estonia is actually a little bit different from other countries in that you can do multiple areas of activity in one company as well. So you don't necessarily need to set up, you know, two companies, one to do trading, you know, personal investments and trading, and one to do your consulting services that you do for your marketing agency, for example. You can do them under the one company. You might choose not to because it is very easy to set them up, but that's absolutely possible. And yes, having multiple names, brand names, this kind of thing under the one company is fine.
Let me just clarify that. So yes, you can have multiple brands and multiple activities under the same company, meaning let's say you start off thinking, okay, my plan is to do consulting. And you do consulting for a month or two or a couple of years, and then you have an idea, okay, I'm going to also use this company to do online sales of stuff that I buy from China. And you don't need to set up a new company for that. But if you are asking about the name, a company has to have one name. So the company name, you cannot have several names of one company. So you have to choose a name for your company when you set it up, and you cannot have multiple names for that legal body. Maybe that clarifies. Hopefully
Yeah,
it doesn't make it
more
more
complicated.
complicated.
So. Thank you. Just seeing, Calvis or Martin, feel free to like come in with any questions that you're seeing that you would like to answer live as well.
Yeah, I tried to answer some in the text format. I hope I can be useful there.
Thank you. So Chiara is asking a question that I'm sure both of you can answer, which is, how can I really interact with other companies in order to grow exchange opportunities of business once I open my business company in Estonia? So what are some of the, like, how to grow, how to network, what could we tell her to do?
I would say that the e-Residency, let's say, universe is a good place for networking, because look, exclusively all of these people who have set up their companies, these people are entrepreneurs by nature, yeah. So most of them are out there looking for contacts and possible joint projects, etc. So there is a Facebook group which has more than 10,000 followers, which is called e-Residents of Estonia. So and this Facebook group gets questions every week saying, I am an e-resident, I started my company, I'm doing this or that, is anybody interested in cooperation? So it's one sort of way of finding business partners or connections. But at the same time, you know, your company that you set up as an e-resident is no different than any other company. So in terms of growing your business, developing your business, anything that applies for other companies as well works well. I don't know, meet people, go places, meet people, so to speak, in very broad terms. But e-Residency provides you this one additional gateway or community to do that.
Yeah, I don't know even where to start. But Martin mentioned this Facebook group. That's one thing that's directly related to e-Residency. But there's really, once you have the e-Residency, you kind of even, I think that has been the case for me, you kind of even forget it, because if you're in an e-resident company, then you can just feel like everyone will welcome you as an Estonian company. There are very many different kind of events or organizations, like the Startup Wise guys that I mentioned. There's Lift 99, Technopol, that are very always open to take on new and interesting businesses that will have a lot of network, that will be interested in talking to you and see if there are any opportunities. There are different opportunities for yourself to get some kind of a funding from them. There are a lot of events like Startup Day, Latitude 59, which has, for example, pitch competitions with Latitude will now this year have 1 million, up to 1 million, basically an investment for the pitch winning competitions. Usually it's only 200 or 300 euros if you pitch competition. That's a real investment that you can immediately get just by winning a pitch competition. There's a lot of investors going around. From my experience, we have been looking for investors, so I guess I can mention more of those, but there's Estban, which is Estonian network of business angels. Go on and on their website, take a look. You can basically reach out to any angel investor. You have their details there. So it's very open. And yeah, if you have an e-residency, if you're an e-resident and you have Estonian company, it's like you forget you have an e-residency because everyone like, or even if you don't have maybe Estonian company, everyone will welcome you. So opportunities are a lot. So it's really, I would say my final words is it really depends what you're looking for. If you have some specifics, I can maybe give you some advice, but there's a lot of opportunities out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what Calvis said, Leda was asking if she had to pick 3 months to spend in Estonia, when would we recommend? I mean, Latitude is in May, and Startup Day is I think in August, but then next year it'll go back to being in winter. So
no, I think this year, if
I think it's also in.
It's March or April, so I think they're both in kind of springish time.
So maybe spring, maybe spring is a good time to come, Leda. And but the other thing we should mention here is that summer is absolutely stunning and beautiful in Estonia. So maybe if you come in May and stay a couple of months into summer, that's the best time, because you can go to the islands and enjoy some sun and lots of daylight, because the daylight doesn't stop in summer.
Other organization I would mention is for young entrepreneurs, startups or freelancers, Garage 48, which are organizing hackathons very often. That's the place where you can meet up with mostly Estonian, but not only Estonian people, entrepreneurs that are looking to solve different kind of problems. There's always a lot of opportunities to find business for yourself and just create something cool in those hackathons. Usually happens online as well.
Thank you. Okay, so we've only got like not much time to go. We probably will go a little bit over the hour, so please stay with us if you can, because I think now what we should do is go to taxes, because I can see that there are a lot of questions on this topic. So let's start with just an overview of the types of taxes to be aware of. The first one is personal taxes. So as you will be running, a business across borders, a cross-border business, I've put here sort of general guidelines on where you will pay or where you will declare and pay your taxes. So for your own personal individual taxes, these will continue to be declared in your country of tax residence. e-Residency won't affect that. Company taxes, your Estonian company taxes we're talking about here. So these will be declared where your company is tax resident and or has a permanent establishment or dual tax residency. I will cover this more in the next slide because this is a little bit more complicated when it comes to international taxes and doing business across borders. The third type of taxes to be aware of are payroll taxes and social contributions. In some countries, these are called pensions. In some, they're called superannuation, labor taxes. Generally speaking, these will be declared where your company employees are located, registered, and themselves tax resident. You might be an employer of your own company, so this would also count to you if you pay yourself a salary from your company. So that's something to be aware of. So this One is not just for businesses who have many employees, it's also for maybe solopreneurs paying yourself a salary, so be aware of that. And the final type of taxes to be aware of are value-added taxes, also called goods and services tax, GST, or consumption tax. And in the EU, there are sort of streamlined rules about where certain VAT is paid or declared at least. So online sellers can declare VAT and pay them. Online sellers can declare VAT in the EU country where they are VAT registered. This is very oversimplified. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but generally speaking, due to these streamlined regimes that the EU has agreed between countries, you can do it in one country if you're an online seller. So I mentioned the company taxes and how they're a bit complicated. So this slide is attempting to simplify it. So Estonian companies, when they're registered, are automatically considered tax residents in Estonia by the Estonian Tax and Customs Board. Two conditions here though. The first one is that if your company is also considered tax resident or your activities create a permanent establishment in another country, your company may also have tax liabilities there. So for example, if you are a German e-resident with an Estonian company, you live in Germany, your office is in Germany, you have assets there that your company owns, and maybe you even hire some staff in Germany for your Estonian company, it's very likely that the German tax board would consider your Estonian company to be also tax resident in Germany, or create a permanent establishment there. The activities will create a permanent establishment there. So this would mean that you also have foreign tax liabilities in Germany as well. The other thing to note is that e-residency does not disqualify tax residency. It doesn't exempt it. And it won't exempt your company from dual tax dual tax residency or foreign tax liabilities. But in this scenario, the German scenario that I'm sort of given at the moment, there is good news because Estonia has signed a double taxation treaty with Germany. And so, and it has done so with over 60 countries around the world as well. And so in this case, you would pay the foreign tax liabilities for your company in Germany, and Estonia would exempt the corporate income tax from your dividends paid in Estonia. So generally speaking, you should not be double taxed. But here is where we make the disclaimer. You really should talk to a local tax consultant, both in your own country and in Estonia, for professional advice regarding your specific situation, because it will be different for everyone. It will change depending on your own circumstances and your company's setup and structure. What to do though if you want to pay taxes in Estonia? So in this, for this, you will need some substance here. And I'm just going to make some broad suggestions about ways that your company could have substance in Estonia, and you'll have more of an argument to pay your company taxes in Estonia. The first is to rent an office or a factory or some land, assets that your company can own in Estonia. The second is hiring employees in Estonia. There have been some questions about this. Estonia is quite a small country population-wise, so there's not a huge pool, but it's a very technically competent, specialized pool, particularly when we're talking about IT and engineering, these types of things. So you will find very, very, very good labor here, willing to work very hard. Another way that you can prove substance in Estonia is to hold your board meetings, your company board meetings in Estonia. So that would involve coming here a few times a year, making the big strategic decisions for your company here, and also registering assets and IP in Estonia. Digital nomads have it a little bit easier because you often don't have a tax residency. So you can either make your tax residency Estonia for yourself and your company, or you could just continue traveling as you do, not having a tax residency for yourself, but your company will be tax resident in Estonia, and so you can pay taxes here. And the other option, of course, is relocation. So this will depend on visas and migration agreements between your country and Estonia. In the EU, for example, it's very easy to move here. You have 3 months without having to register. After you reach 3 months, you'll need to register. But other than that, there's nothing much to do. If you're outside of the EU, there are different visas that you can look into. For example, the digital nomad visa, the startup visa, or other specialized worker visas as well. So these are all options for you to move here, and then you'll be able to have a good argument to pay taxes for your company in Estonia. I've covered all these things in much more detail on this webpage on our website, which you can also find in the main menu as well, bringing business to Estonia. So you might want to take a look at that if you're interested in sort of the tax arbitrage type benefits that Estonia offers. And I just want to provide an example here. Alexander and his partner Natalia, they actually are from Ukraine. And a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, they moved to Estonia originally as e-residents, and now they're residents. And they brought their company here, prnews.io. So it is possible, it does happen. I think actually Calvis's business partner, Mohammed, who couldn't make it today because he was sick, he had a similar experience as well. He's an Iranian, started as an e-resident and then moved to Estonia and is now a resident and a founder of along with Calvis.
Yes, that's correct.
And if you do manage to pay taxes for your company in Estonia, there are some nice things to know. Estonia does have the most competitive tax code in the world. It has minimal tax regulation. The legislation is very thin compared to other countries, and fair and relatively low rates. Not the lowest rates in the world. It's not a tax haven compared to some even EU countries, but relatively low. The biggest draw card, I think, is that when you there is no annual corporate income tax, and if you reinvest your profits into your company, you don't pay any corporate tax. It's only when you start distributing profits in the form of dividends that you pay a standard rate of 20%, 20 over 80, and that reduces to 14 over 86, 14% if you make regular distributions over 3 years or more. And this is quite a good thing. This 0% on reinvested profits is quite a good incentive for small business and startups in particular, because it allows you to grow over the first few years of your business until you're ready to start paying out profits. VAT in Estonia is 20%, and it's mandatory to register your company for VAT if you're making over 40,000 euros per year turnover. And I mentioned these streamlined regimes, the OSS, which is the one-stop shop, IOSS is the import one-stop shop, and these have been agreed by EU member states to simplify VAT procedures. Taxes can be declared and paid online in Estonia really easily and very quickly as well. And this might sound cheesy, but it's absolutely true. The Estonian Tax and Customs Board is one of the friendliest tax authorities in the world. Take it from personal experience. Dealing with them is actually quite a delight, and they're also very quick to respond. They even have a special email address and contact details for non-resident taxpayers in Estonia. So it's no wonder that Estonia has been ranked #1 on the Tax Competitiveness Index for 9 years running. Okay, so that's the end of the content slides. Let's answer a few questions on taxes. Martin, do you have any to start us off with?
Yes, I'll try to, because there's been a lot of questions, and obviously tax is such a complicated subject that it's really impossible to give detailed tax advice orally in a webinar where there are 200 participants, but we will do our best, and I would like to maybe go through a couple of steps as they occur when you start your company. So when you start your company and you start your business, you provide services or you sell your goods, then over the months you want to pay yourself a salary. If the company generates income, then there should be somebody doing the work. And if you are not living in Estonia, and most of you, almost all of you, you don't live in Estonia. So if you pay yourself a salary, then you don't pay any labor taxes in Estonia. Effectively, what it means is that you, at the end of each month, you transfer money from your company bank account to your bank account, wherever that may be, and you say, you know, salary for previous month. Now, this money that you receive is something that is your personal income, and you need to declare this in the country where you live. So how to do that is something that you need to consult with your local tax advisor. I'm sure you know how to pay taxes in your home country. So the salary that your Estonian company pays you is not taxed in Estonia, it is taxed in your home country. The other thing, either before you start up with your Estonian company or immediately after you set it up, I very strongly recommend that you get in touch with your local tax advisor, take a consultation, pay them for a couple of hours of discussions, and try to understand from them. You can tell them that you are going to set up a company in Estonia. You don't have to mention e-residency because your tax advisor will never understand it, but it doesn't matter. It matters is that you have a company in Estonia, in the EU, and you, over the next months or years, will receive money from that company. This could be a salary, this could be dividends, and then your tax advisor can tell you how and when you need to declare this in your home country. And obviously, if you don't pay taxes in Estonia on your labor, on your salaries, that also means that you don't get social benefits. Meaning, if you do come to Estonia, then you cannot go to a doctor and say that you need a liver transplant or you need some sort of surgery or help. So you don't get the social benefits. If you're interested in these social benefits, there is a certain possibility that you can pay your taxes in Estonia. This is called a board members compensation fee, but there are plenty of articles you can read online to find out about this, including on our website in the FAQ section. So if you want to pay taxes in Estonia, and maybe it's better because for many reasons, you can do it, but in most cases your salaries are not taxed in Estonia. Now, at the end of the year or at the end of the next 5 years of running your business, if you don't pay dividends, if you earn money and either you keep this money on your company bank account simply, or you invest it into building your business, this was, as Hannah mentioned, you don't pay the corporate income tax year in, year out. But at the end of the day, at one point, you hopefully have made some money and you decide, okay, I have made this money and I'm going to now pay dividend. I'm going to distribute this profit to the shareholders. And let's imagine you have one shareholder, you are that one shareholder and your company has made 100,000 euros. That is the total profit that your company has made. And you decide, fine, I'm going to distribute all of this money as dividend. Now, what happens is you pay 20% of corporate income tax. Your company pays 20% of corporate income tax in Estonia. That would be 20,000 euros. Yeah. So you had 100,000 in the beginning. Now 20,000 goes to the Estonian government as corporate income tax. Yeah. And the remaining 80,000 goes to you, goes to the shareholder. Again, this is paid out by the company to the shareholder. And this 80,000 is now the shareholders' personal income from the ownership of the shares. And now that shareholder, again, should check with their local tax advisor to see whether this 80,000 that they have earned as dividends, net dividends, how and when and whether this needs to be declared in their home country. Yeah, so potentially this will be taxed as your personal income. But again, this depends on where you live and how the tax regulation and tax system in your home country works. So this is something that you should always be aware of. This is the main point that I wanted to make. And then if I look at the couple of questions that arose.
There's also a few people asking about VAT. So
VAT is I can put a link to the chat after this.
Okay.
We have a memo about VAT.
Okay.
But the basic thing about VAT is this. You can register very easily in Estonia to get the VAT number. VAT on your sales can be offset with the VAT on your purchases. It's all explained in the memo. Those of you that are finance specialists know what I'm talking about. But Hannah mentioned that you don't need to apply for VAT until your turnover exceeds 40,000 a year. That is true, but we always recommend that a company applies for VAT from the very beginning, because if you buy digital services, if you buy, I don't know, you pay for advertising on Google, or you pay for server rent or anything like this, then you're anyway already obliged to pay the purchase VAT. And without the VAT number, you cannot offset that. But again, this becomes a bit more technical, and I stop at that. But it's not mandatory, but it is recommended that you get a VAT number earlier. And your accountant can do that and help you in the process.
Thanks, Martin. So we're running out of time. So maybe if Martin, if you could link to that memo in the chat, in the Q&A, so that everyone has an opportunity to read more about the taxes, that would be really helpful. And I'm going to have to actually close the webinar soon. So if you have any more, I can see people networking and like sharing their numbers and everything in the chat, which is really nice to see. So the e-Residency community is in full flight, in evidence before my eyes. It's fantastic. So a few things. A few people have asked about recordings and, will I get copies of Q&A? So we've actually been live streaming this on YouTube. So the video recording of this webinar will be available on YouTube after probably an hour or so, once we've published it after this. And as I mentioned already, you will get a link to our website tomorrow with lots of information, further resources, and you can have a look around on our website as well at the marketplace. You can find e-Residency Hub there. There is actually a blog with lots of e-resident stories, so you can read about other e-resident stories, and Calvis is one of those on the blog. Please join us for future events. I'll be doing this webinar again next month, so if you have more questions, please join us again, because as you can see, we get a lot of good content, a lot of good discussions going on the various topics. So sorry, I should have already changed the slide. As I mentioned, also there's a feedback survey that will pop up on your browser. If you could please respond and let us know what you think, and give us some feedback on this session. Subscribe to our newsletter if you haven't already. If you have asked a question and haven't received an answer, or if you have more questions, I think the best thing to do is contact our support channel. I've provided the email here, but you can also find it very easily on our webpage. And finally, if you're ready to apply for e-Residency, you can go to the Police and Border Guard website to do that as well. So all that is left to say is thank you very much to everyone who joined. And also thank you to Calvis and Martin. Do you guys have any final things to say before we sign off? Martin, maybe you first.
I would like to thank the organizers, and to the participants, I would like to say that there are a lot of benefits, but please read, and there is a lot of information available on the e-Residency official website of Estonia, as well as on the websites of the service providers. So do your homework and discuss with your local tax advisor as well before you make the decisions. But believe me, the 25,000 or so e-residents that have already set up their companies and that are running them wouldn't be there if the benefits weren't there. And we talked about quite extensively about the benefits. And if you do have questions, then our website, erhub.ee, is always there, and our contacts are there. You can contact us, and we will be able to clarify your individual questions as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining today, Martin. And Calvis, would you like to say a few words to end?
Yeah, I would say something similar to Martin. So I have no bad things to say about e-residency or the way that the Estonian government operates operates with your business, but not operates, but I forgot the word. But I think it's a fantastic program for anyone who's, if you're already looking for it, something like that, and probably it's for you. I did note some of the questions in the Q&A, and I noted that I could answer them. So I think there were 3 of them that I just saw I could maybe quickly give answers to. Yoni asked about grants and monetary business support applied for Estonian businesses. There are some, I don't particularly remember the names, but go to startupestonia.ee. I know that they were somewhere in there. I remember there was, I think, something 15 or 25,000 euros you can get with your Estonian company if you prove that you are applicable to that. Then Mohammed asked, could you tell us more if you decide to relocate to Estonia to make business easier? I don't, it was asked directly to me. I don't know what specifically say here, but that there's no hurdles if you want to relocate to Estonia. I think the biggest hurdle that there might be is you have to check with whatever embassy you have, with your own government on what's there. But other than that, you just come to Estonia, and you might have to check also regarding passports or IDs if you're outside of EU. And Raj or Rai asked that I would like to have more information on co-working spaces or tech incubators or office spaces for our team in Estonia. So there are a few, like, Startup Wise guys, it's like an accelerator. There are Lift 99, which is a very popular. There's Technopol, which is like a sort of like a program, but there are many of those, and basically any of that. Like I said, the density of entrepreneurs in Estonia is really high. So wherever you go, probably even a coffee shop, most likely you can meet someone to do business with. So,
And I'll just add that we have a lot of resources about those topics on our website as well. So have a look. We've got tons about co-working and in Estonia, and also around funding, getting grants, these kinds of things as well. So thanks, Kalvis, for answering those last few questions. And thank you again, everyone, for joining, and have a really nice rest of the week. Ciao.
Yeah. Thank you, Hannah, as well, for a great webinar.
No worries. Bye.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening, everyone.